While watching France 24 coverage of today's terrorist attacks in Brussels, I was surprised by the interview of a person described by the host as a quote-unquote eyewitness, who identified himself as a US citizen, providing several details about the explosions that at that given time could only be known by law enforcement agents and intelligence operatives. As you may notice along his interview, he sounds an awful lot like a covert operative for some government agency that could be either the CIA or the Mossad, what suggests yet another false flag terror attack sponsored by the shadow government.
We can cross to Brussels. I understand that we're joined by Alexandre, who was at the airport at the time of the attack. Alexandre, what was it like for you? What did you see this morning at the airport?
Hi. As I stepped in the airport to do the check-in for my flight to the U.S., there was a huge explosion, very, very loud, very deep sound, and then the smoke, the dust, debris flying everywhere, people screaming. So I was entering the airport. I quickly turned back. Then the military just rushed in. Soldiers, the security personnel of the airport, and then the police told everybody to step back, cross that little bit of street where cars unload passengers, and go take refuge in the parking lot that's just in front of the terminal. Then, of course, firefighters, paramedics, more police, and then you look and you see the big windows just completely blown up. Glass are being taken care of and dragged out of inside of the terminal on the street, and then the dead are carried out. So at that point it was a chaos. But then when we saw the emergency personnel run out of inside the terminal, we understood that there was probably another bomb hidden in there, which was confirmed by the police, and they told us to move even further away. So there we were, hundreds of passengers, just not knowing exactly what to do and trying to follow instructions. So that's about it.
Do you live in Brussels?
I do not. I live in the U.S., but I'm originally from Belgium, so I travel to Belgium a lot to come see my family.
So what do you make of the authorities deciding to step up security, to deploy more troops? Do you find that reassuring?
Well, it may be a move to make it more reassuring for the population. However, as I understand it, more troops wouldn't have stopped an attack like this. It happened before security. So what are you going to do? Put hundreds of soldiers at the entrance of the airport to check everybody's backpack? That's just impossible. I mean, it's a weak point, and I don't know if just the mere presence of soldiers and police officers can actually go against someone who has decided to blow himself up with a backpack full of explosives.
What about the fact that at Brussels Airport, like in most airports around the world, you can walk into the departures area without having been screened, without going through any security check whatsoever? There are very few countries, cities where that is the case. Do you think we should start doing it now across the world? Do you think the threat that we're dealing with is such that you'd accept that kind of increased security or not?
Well, it depends on several factors. I mean, you always have the debate between the traditional airport security and the one that's used in, like, Israeli airports, which is much heightened. But moreover, the problem that you will face is the flow of people, hundreds and thousands of people every day that you have to check once, twice, and then a third time before they board their plane. Yeah, if it has to be done, it has to be done. Sure. But how practical is it going to be? And how much will it cost? Is it doable? That is something that's well beyond my pay grade.
Now, it's been just a few hours since the airport came under attack. I'm not sure where exactly you are in Brussels, but could you tell us perhaps what the atmosphere is like? Is there security in many different parts of the city, or just around the airport and the Malbec metro station?
Well, as for the atmosphere, there's no atmosphere anymore. To be precise, people are just in shock. Stay home and try. I think they try their best to follow the instructions of the authorities. As for the deployment of police and military, it's very intense in all of Brussels, because Brussels, of course, has a lot of potential targets with the European authorities, with NATO, with embassies and stuff like that. So, yeah, heightened security. Clearly, you see military trucks, you see soldiers, you see police officers, K9 units. That's about it. And people are in shock. I mean, the attack at the airport was absolutely horrifying. But I cannot even imagine what people who were in that metro station went through.
Well, Alexandre, we really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us, considering what you've been through. Thank you very much indeed. Now, just a quick recap.